Discover the depth of faith beyond the pews. This is More Than a Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us for season 3. If you haven't checked out seasons 1 and 2, you should definitely go do so. There's some incredible content there. Now this season, this brand new season, episode 1 is called Numbers. It's called Numbers because we are diving into generational similarities and differences. And in the Bible, in the book of Numbers, in the Old Testament, we read all about 2 different generations. The first generation being the people who escaped Egypt in Exodus, and the second generation are the people who were born after that event happened. So I'm here joined by my friends Calie and Andy. Thank you so much for being part of this. Yeah. Now, we represent 2 different generations right here. Calie, you are in Gen Z.
Yeah.
Andy, you are a millennial. So today we're just going to unpack a little bit about millennial differences and similarities to Gen Z. Yeah. I also happen to fall in the category of Gen Z, so Calie and I might relate a little bit.
Yeah, same team.
This podcast, sure. But that's a good thing.
I'm used to being told my whole life, as we were younger, we were your age, like all the negative things about that everybody wanted to dump on us in the world. They're like, the millennials do this and they do this and they're spoiled and they don't know this. And I'm like, okay, well, now we're the old people complaining about you guys.
Okay, good. So you did it.
I completely shifted. I get it now.
Perfect. Yep. Well, I'm glad that you're here.
Yes.
What year were you born in, Andy? And what was your favorite TV show growing up?
Sure.
Give us a little context.
I was born in 1984. And so that makes me like an old millennial. There's I'm probably on the old side pushing the next generation. But I loved game shows when I was growing up. So I loved The Price is Right. There was a game show in the 80s called Press Your Luck that was had these guys, little red guys named Whammies, and when you got one you lost all your money, and those were my favorite shows growing up.
I feel like so many millennials are like,
game
the whammy.
Game shows,
wow.
Absolutely. Price is Right, that was like, if you were my age, like staying home from school, watching The Price is Right, pretending you were sick, that was it.
That's like a mid-morning
that was living show. Yeah. Wow. It was mid-morning.
Okay.
I think that is a lot of that. My dad gets so excited when there's old game shows on that like get revived too. Wow. Like we'll all sit down and he'll be like, oh my gosh, you guys, this is great. I used to watch this. You got to see this. Like,
wow.
yeah.
So what year were you born, Calie, and what was your favorite TV show growing up?
I was born in 2000. So also on the earlier side of Gen Z. And I feel like I watched a lot of like PBS Kids growing up. So I don't know. We also didn't watch like a ton of TV.
Is Arthur PBS Kids?
Arthur is PBS Kids.
Okay, I remember that.
I feel like I watched there's so many random ones, like Maya and Miguel, I remember.
Yeah.
I also watched Arthur, by the way.
Like
you did Arthur too?
That was old enough that like when I was a teen, that was still on.
Cool.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Like remember some Sesame Street, but that's also like lasted a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
But I feel like a lot of people my age would probably say that they like grew up on Disney Channel.
Okay.
Like the Hannah Montana and the Sweet Life and the like a lot of those classic Disney Channel shows.
I love that the word is classic to describe those.
The classic Hannah Montana.
I
love that.
Yes.
Well, on our podcast today, we're going to do 3 different categories of questions. And the first category is super lighthearted, rapid fire, but then we're going to get deep later on. So let's start with category 1. Here's some quick questions. Andy, I'm coming to you first. Give me the millennial lingo.
Millennial lingo.
Yeah.
We just say everything is cool. Like that's cool. I think that people before us said it, but I think we said it so much, and we still say it. I say everything is cool all the time.
Literally just means it's cool.
Yeah, it's good. It's fine. It's normal. It's great. I'm good with it. That's generally like I'm in a good place with this. It's cool.
Cool. What about you, Calie?
He says cool, and I think chillin'. Like I'm chilling. Whatever. Like it's good. We were talking about this earlier too, but it's a lot of like this social media kind of lingo where it's like a fit check or an OOTD stands for outfit of the day. If you didn't know.
I didn't.
Learned but something. A lot of those, I don't know. What else did we talk about?
It's giving.
It's
like it's giving fall. It's giving Savior of the world.
Yes.
Like, that would describe Jesus.
Sure.
What else do we say? It's a vibe.
It's a vibe.
Huge one.
Yeah. Bussin'. My family went on a kick for a while with that one. Bussin'. Like, oh, this food is bussin'.
So it's
like,
good.
So good.
Bussin' is good.
So good.
Right. Just it's good in general. Is there a way I could not use it where it'd be weird? Well, just I think me using it in general would probably
that'd be a little strange.
Because that would now make it not cool anymore.
You might get away with it if you like tasted something really good. Like if you took a first bite of something, you're like, oh, it's bussin'. I think you might be able to get away with it then.
Yes.
I'll let
like the
it
most
slide.
common.
If you would say it in front of me, I'd let you have it.
We watch this thing on TikTok. It's a middle school teacher, and he's doing Gen Alpha lingo, and like we do this
Oh, my
because my
word.
kids now are 11 and 9. Actually, my 11-year-old will be 12 here very soon, so she's in middle school. Like, just to be preparing ourselves for what she might come home
Yep.
saying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're trying to scope it out before she gets there.
gonna be crazy.
That
What
way
about-
we can make it not cool at home.
Yeah. What if I said, "Hey, Andy, it's kind of drippy." What would that mean?
Is
to
that
you?
clothes? Is that like what you wear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you look drippy. Drippy.
I follow
Okay.
TikTokers that say rate my drip.
Yeah.
Maybe like 1 to 10.
Rate my drip.
Like my fit.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
All
So
Riz. We talked about Riz.
Riz.
That was a
Do
big
you know
one.
what Riz is?
I think so, kind of. It's just like, is it like just general charisma? Like it's good?
That's technically what it's short
Right,
for,
that's what I
but
thought,
it's
yeah.
kind of like used as like if I riz somebody up, like you're flirting with them, like
Oh,
you're
okay.
trying to like make a move.
All right. Okay. So it's like charm.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
guys are like, no, that's not it.
Well, yeah, but like I feel like it's a little bit like
It's like
edgier than
smooth,
that.
like,
Yeah.
Kind of like player.
All right.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, I know what that is. That's very millennial. Yes.
All right. What is your favorite song or musical artist?
I love John Mayer because he hit me at just the right time.
Okay.
His first big album was called Room for Squares, and his big hit radio single came out like right after I graduated high school, so 2002. And so that like right there, when I was in college, anytime John Mayer played in the Midwest, anywhere like Cincinnati or Indianapolis or wherever, I went and saw him. And so that was kind of like my first big following musically in life. And I still to this day, I love him. So this is very old and dated now. John Mayer has his own Sirius XM like satellite radio channel.
Okay.
And I listen to that while I work all day.
Yeah.
Now, that's so funny because you guys are like, nobody listens to the radio. Right. But I do
Yeah.
listen to the radio still. And I think radio is like a good medium. So that being said, I listen to John Mayer talk at me every day now. Wow. And because it's just a nostalgic thing.
When you get in the car, you're listening to the radio?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's podcasts too. I mean, I listen to a lot of that. But yeah, it's still some radio.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's not dead to me yet.
Okay.
Very fun.
Yeah.
I have been on a Luke Combs kick lately. I really love Luke Combs music.
Cool.
And then my friends and I, one of our favorite bands is Sammy Ray and the Friends,
Oh yeah.
which is just kind of funky, kind of poppy,
Yeah.
but real fun. So those have been like two of my favorites lately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
What was the form of social media you used growing up?
None. I didn't know. When I got to high
Social media,
school,
what is that?
so
What?
so
I can't.
So AOL, America Online, that was like the big thing in the '90s. This was like
I never knew what that stood for.
that was a program that you got it. They would send CDs in the mail, and then you'd pay X amount of dollars a month to activate it with your dial-up internet. What
Is this the milk truck?
CDs
What are
in
you
the mail.
Yes.
Is
They
crazy.
sent it to you in the mail. There was a disc, and it was like, try AOL 1 month for free. And you download on your computer. It got you on, and it was like the first version of like web browsing and things like that.
Okay.
And there were web browsers, but like it was other stuff. But there was this instant messenger that was baked into that. And there was a free version of it. So AOL Instant Messenger, AIM. So if you talk to people my age and you ask them about their AIM, they still remember their screen name. And that was like how you communicated over your computer. Now, I had dial-up internet at home. So that meant that if I was on the computer online, number one, it took forever to connect. But then that meant our phone couldn't be used
Oh no.
because it was all the same line.
Oh no.
Yes.
So
oh, yeah.
multiple
It was
kids
one
in
or
the
the
hou-
other. Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Now, I didn't get like a fast internet connection until I went to college.
Okay.
And then we had AIM and all sorts of stuff. Then we started to download music and things.
I have a question.
Yes.
AIM.
That's
Does anyone
AOL
think-
Instant Messenger. Sorry.
Anyone think AIM?
People would say that.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah. People would say it. No, I think that's right. But I think people just said AIM. I don't know.
Wow, it was just
So ask the other. So I'm 40. Ask the other like 38 to 45-year-olds around here
what their
what they if they had an AIM and what their screen name was.
screen name. Wow.
All right.
Interesting. What about you?
I had to get Twitter for school, but I didn't really use it very much. I think the first one that I got to use was Snapchat, if we're
Yeah.
going to consider that a social media.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that
Okay.
was the first
Yep.
kind of big one that I had, but I feel like the majority has been Instagram.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Instagram
It's big.
use. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, definitely different. Would you rather text or call?
I actually really like to call. I know that's probably old school, but
Okay.
I just to me I'm relational and conversational, and so tone and context like matter to me a lot.
yeah.
And with text, you lose both of those.
see.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
I would prefer to FaceTime over either of those two. So I don't know. what that is psychologically, but I feel like phone calls are awkward. I don't know why, but phone calls
It's like
just
talking
like
through a door.
yeah, they like feel scary and awkward sometimes. So like if I really want to communicate with my friends, like my first choice is a FaceTime.
Okay.
Or like even when I'm driving sometimes, like if my phone is mounted, I'll FaceTime. Like even if I'm not looking at the person,
You just need to like.
it feels
know
better than a
they're-
phone call.
Yeah. Interesting.
We used to
But-
make phone calls that were like hours long. Like that was what you did. Like you came home from school,
Yeah.
you pick up the phone, you call someone's house, their mom to pick up the phone. You say, "Hey, is so and so home?" And they say, "Yeah, hold on just a second." And then get the kid. They'd come talk on the phone, and then you'd talk for
Wow.
half hour,
without
45
seeing
minutes.
each other.
Yeah.
Just the voice.
yeah.
All right, Andy. Say you wanted to ask someone out on a date growing up. How would you do that?
Wow. Not over any sort of I would say that it was not okay to do that in a digital format back then. Like
Really?
it would be so wrong to do that over Instant Messenger or something like that. So it was in person. You had to build the courage and say, "Hey, I just was wondering if you would like to go to this, coffee shop and hang out and chat and call it whatever you want." But
So just an in-person.
in person, like, hey, just casual hang out and see where it goes from there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know where you would sit. I'd be interested to hear where you would sit on this too, but I feel like I would be totally fine. Like if somebody was asking me out on a date for like just for them to shoot off a text message and be like, "Hey, I was wondering if you'd want to get coffee at some point." I think one, because that gives me the luxury of like taking a second to like breathe and be like, okay, let me check my calendar. And also, can I do that? And also, do I want to do that? And also like it just gives me the time kind of to process.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many other factors that go into it, like how well you know somebody and if you just met, if it's a first date or like whatever. But
For sure.
I feel like a text is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a first date, I would definitely say that a text is fine. But like if someone was gonna be like, "Will you be my girlfriend?"
Yes,
then that has
that's
to be
more
like
of a
in
milestone.
person.
Yeah.
But that's after some dates, I feel like.
Yeah. But I also feel like if I knew somebody really well, like I was friends with them and we maybe like had hung out before, maybe we shared a friend group, something like that, like then if they were to ask me in person, it would feel less weird.
Yeah.
I
For
think.
sure.
But I also get scared that like, what if I don't like you and I have to reject you? And that's a lot easier to do over a text message than to your
All
face.
those things play into
So,
that.
yeah.
A
lot of factors.
I just think that that would be like a dishonoring thing to do that over text. Just
Like texting
for our
like,
age, like we never would have done that. It would have been totally that's
Like it
you-
feels
that's
too
beneath you.
casual, like
Yeah.
disrespectful
I would
almost.
just say it's like it's not even that. I think it's just not courageous.
Oh, okay.
Like if you're gonna take your shot, you take your shot.
Yeah, go do it.
And you have to risk it.
Yeah.
It's worth it. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But
Hopefully.
sometimes you're gonna be rejected.
Yeah,
and that's
to your face.
actually okay. Yeah.
I think we need to learn that.
I've
I
never
think
been
that's-
rejected, but
Well, you just saying
Yeah.
that made me anxious.
I
Like,
know.
Thinking about
Yeah.
getting
I was like,
rejected
oh my
in
gosh.
person.
But I think that that's a good lesson, though, is like, no, you got to like realize that sometimes you're going to be told no, whether that's in a dating situation or in life in general. Like, I think we get scared to tell people no. We get scared to disagree with people.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anything along those lines. So I think it's an important lesson just to remember, like, no, sometimes there's going to be rejection. Sometimes
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're going to get told no, and that's okay. You move on to the next thing.
Yep.
I wonder too, and I know we're not going super deep, but like I think sometimes the digital nature of our world is that we lose the ability to say no, and therefore we lose the ability to have honest conversation.
Whoa.
Because even then, it's like if I don't really want to say no here, I'm actually going to come up with some reason that I can't do it that isn't true.
Yeah.
Instead of actually just saying, you know what, actually I'm really just not interested in this, or I'm just not attracted to you,
Yeah. Which is
like. I don't know. I think it's
Yeah.
horrifying to consider, but
Yeah, but
like, I
to
think
be
we just
honest-
did that. Like,
Yeah.
no, you're not my type.
Not interested, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
That's scary.
yeah, but that's a great point.
Yeah.
Being able to actually have honest conversation.
That being said, my wife and I, we were friends for a long time. Like, I think I probably, when we were just early on, I probably would hit on her in a way that she was not wanting.
Yeah.
Not like in a really bad way, just more like, no, I have a boyfriend,
Yeah.
but I would lay it on thick, and because I thought I was smooth. And we were
Lay
friends
it
for
on
like
thick.
3 years. Sorry, is that
That's
slang?
millennial.
Is it really? Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Definitely. That's got to
No,
be.
but that's okay.
No, it's good. I guess I never thought of that as slang. But it took probably 3 years before she was like, okay, this makes sense to me. I
Wow.
like you now.
Cool.
So,
Wow.
but it took many
And
times.
the rest is
It took
history.
many times like
Shout out to
pursuing
Gina.
Right, you
and
had to
being rejected in a
continue.
way. But
Yeah.
just always believing like, no, she'll come around.
I think a lot of guys in Gen Z probably wouldn't pursue that long. I
Yeah.
think it would be like
Yeah.
texting, you want to go on a date? No. The next time, do you want to go on a date? No. They'd be like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm going to go
and
somewhere
that's
else then.
Another part of our generation is just the attention span and the patience and the
So short.
like really sticking to something. Like I don't think we commit to much.
Yeah.
Like the younger, like, you know, you don't like a job after a couple months. You're like, well, I'll go find another one. Or,
Yeah.
you know, you're sick of pursuing somebody like, oh, I'll go, whatever,
someone
move on
else.
to the, I mean, that's dating apps, that's social
Yeah.
media, that's video games, that just like our attention span. I
Yeah.
don't think we really stick to things.
It's definitely alluding
Generally.
to a deeper conversation for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
If you wanted to fit in growing up, what did you need to have? What was the thing?
Early for me, like elementary to middle school, we had these things called starter jackets. So Starter was a brand like, you know, like a Nike or Adidas or something like that. Starter jackets were always jackets that had a team logo on them. So I remember I never could afford them because they were really expensive and we were just not wealthy. So I always wanted one. I remember one time I finally got like a version of one that had the University of Michigan logo on it. I didn't care one bit about the University of Michigan. I didn't care, but like I was so
that
excited
jacket-
to
Like
have this
Michigan
starter
fan
jacket.
now?
I'm all in on Michigan now.
Whatever the jacket tells me
Yes,
I am.
absolutely.
That's my,
Wow.
That was like probably mid 90s, and then later in the 90s and early 2000s, then it was more like Abercrombie and Fitch and Hollister brand clothing. Doc Martens. I had a pair of Doc Martens shoes.
Okay.
Which are now like kind of back, right? Aren't they? Like,
Yeah.
They are.
Come back around.
Those
Wait,
actually,
what
Pull 'em
kind?
out,
Do you have
dust
like
them
the
off.
actual like boots? Like
Yeah.
you have combat
yeah, I had
boots?
like really thick soled shoes. Yeah. Oh yeah.
With the yellow stitching?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like if in 1998 you were everything with Doc Martens. for
Andy,
sure.
I can't wait to see you pull those out, dust them off,
this
and
winter.
Yeah,
wear
I don't
'em to
know. I don't
work.
know if I have them anymore.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I hope you do.
Doc Martens.
Yeah,
Okay, what about you?
So I was thinking of like a couple different layers. Something really small is silly bands. Like I remember in
Oh,
elementary school, like, I mean, you were so cool. If you got a new pack of silly bands, we would like trade them, and there was all different themes.
Kids had
So
them
I
all
feel
the
like
way up to their
all the way
elbows.
up. I mean, you take them off at recess and lay them all flat, and like, okay, I like this one, you like this one, we can trade. So I feel like that was like something smaller but really big.
Yeah.
Like Ugg boots. I was also gonna say like Aeropostale type Hollister. Like even that was still kind of a thing. I feel
Yeah.
like for my time.
Can I say something? What I really appreciate about your generation versus mine is we so valued material things when it came to clothing, and I don't sense that brands matter as much to you. Now I could be wrong, but I feel like you guys have a better sense of just like, this looks good. I don't care who made it. I'm good with it. Whereas we were so tied to brands.
Wow, yeah.
You know what? I think you're
Except
right.
for shoes. You guys are all in on shoes.
Oh.
Yeah, shoes are
Jordans
big.
are like
Air
everything,
Forces.
right? And you'll pay way too much for shoes. And
Yeah.
that's probably a little bit of a version of it. But that
Yeah.
being said, I just appreciate it.
Thank you.
So
I
good-
think we got into thrifting.
I was gonna say Gen Z loves a
Yeah,
thrift.
we love
loves a thrift.
Yeah, I
And
don't
like
know.
any sort of vintage clothes. Like I
Yeah.
think that's part of not really caring about brands as much is because you're like, oh, I just found this like super cool shirt. It's
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the 90s. Like this will be
Yeah.
because 90s style coming back.
Coming back.
So the Gen Z facade is Instagram, taking the perfect photos and making your life look really good on photo. Ours was like making your life look really good by the clothes that you wear.
I see.
I think that could be. It's
Yeah.
the same thing. It just
Right.
looks
Translation,
different.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
That is so interesting. I'm learning.
I've never
a
thought
lot.
about that.
There's so many differences, but at their root, there's similarities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, say you needed to loan someone $5,000. How do you go about giving them the money?
I have to write them a check.
Write them a check.
Now you guys know what a check is, right?
I
I know. You
I
know.
am aware of what a
know.
check is.
I filled out a check twice in my life.
Wow.
Okay, to be fair,
times?
same. I don't have a checkbook.
Same.
But I've received checks. But if you put a checkbook in front of me right now and said, fill this out to Andy Schultz, I would say, can you just like watch me do it so you make sure I write the right thing in the
For
right
sure.
space?
Wow. So you would write a check. Do you have checks
For
on you all the time?
$5,000. By the way, I don't have $5,000 around
Yeah.
to
I'm
loan
saying
anybody.
to move large amounts of money, you would write a full check.
Yeah, absolutely. I would feel very uncomfortable with a Venmo or Zelle or whatever you use for trading money with $5,000.
Really?
I mean, $15 for your share of dinner is one thing,
But 5,000
Right.
on Venmo would freak you out.
freak me out. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So where do you get checks?
The bank.
Okay, did you know that some banks don't even have brick and mortar? What do you do then?
Really?
Online banking.
Oh, I don't know. I don't even know.
Maybe you could ask them.
I have a brick and mortar
Order?
bank that I'm a part of, so I don't know.
Does Amazon sell checks? You can get a
Do
check
they
on
have to
Amazon.
be from a
Yeah.
specific place, or
Yeah.
could you just get it like a?
No, your bank has to issue them.
Okay, it can't be like a
because it's a
standard check.
yeah, it represents your checking account.
Because it's your specific account, right?
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
has like the numbers and everything.
Okay. How about you? How would
Yeah,
you do
I
this?
also would like to clarify that I will not be lending $5,000 to anybody anytime soon. I do not
It'd
have
be
that
awkward when
kind
I
of
ask you for money later.
very awkward.
But how?
But yeah, I mean, my first instinct is Venmo.
Same.
And I don't know, to be fair, you were like, that's a lot. So I don't know if I would do it all at once. I would maybe
Yeah.
send it in smaller increments.
Yeah.
But I would do that. I also have sent like an electronic check before, just from like my bank account to another bank account.
Yeah.
So my first instinct is Venmo. And then second, I would be like, maybe send a check, but I don't have physical checks. So I would like go on my banking app
Yep.
and
figure out.
there's like a tab where you can send a check. So
Wow. Yeah, I
Good
would
for you.
Venmo.
So you guys, so if I put a checkbook in front of you and I said, okay, go ahead, you would sweat
I
it
would
out.
I would give it my best
would
shot,
ask.
but I would be a little bit I think that I could do it. I would just be unsure of myself. I would not be confident fully.
Same. Actually, one time I was writing in the one out of the 2 times I've ever filled out a check. One time I filled out the check, I took it to the person that needed to have it, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I turned it over, and I was waiting for them, turn it over, and it said X signature.
Oh, the endorsement.
And I was like, oh, I gotta sign it. Signed it, gave it to them,
Yeah.
and then
Cute.
they're like, oh no,
No.
you can't.
I
sign
can't
it.
deposit
Sign
this.
Sign the front, I sign
Yeah.
the back. Yes.
Yeah, I messed that up. I would totally Venmo $5,000.
I think the hardest
Yeah.
part really is like just writing out the words.
Well, I
right?
was gonna
Oh,
say,
yeah.
I know that you have to
5,000
like
and-
write
yeah.
like in
Cursive,
letters.
right?
No,
the-
it doesn't have to be cursive.
Oh, do you have to write the cents?
You have to
But
write.
just
You
in
print
letters,
the words
yeah.
of the amount. So it confirms. So if it's like $308, you have to say 308 and 00 over 100 to mean no cents.
See, what was that?
That's
Zero over
that's the
100.
pennies, right? That's
Oh,
the,
okay.
That's so if it was $308.32, then I would write 308 and 0. What did I say? How many cents?
38.
Whatever
Oh,
cents.
I think you said
38
38.
over 100 or whatever, like that.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we purchased our home,
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah, whatever.
don't know how to do
I don't
that.
write checks a lot anymore.
when we purchased our home, they said for closing costs you need to wire the money,
No,
and
that's
we're like,
yeah.
wire?
That's a
See
bank.
that
What's
if you
going
tell
on
me to
here?
wire you money, I'm like, are we in the
That sounds
1800s?
shady,
Like I
yeah.
feel like we're in the old west, and
Yeah.
I'm wiring you money.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Like
Okay.
do I need Morse code next? I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on.
It's a good. That's at least a safe way to move money around. That's very safe. Yeah, if you're going to close on a house, I mean, a down payment, right?
Yeah,
10,
yeah.
20, $30,000 or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, yeah, I don't want to be writing a check for that. That's another one. You going to Venmo $30,000?
I mean, 310s. I could send 310.
You could.
Is
I
there a
guess.
max on Venmo
I don't know.
for what it'll let you pay?
I don't think so.
I mean, I've never gotten close. So
Very interesting. Okay, what has Jesus taught you?
What a segue.
I know. Making a hard right turn.
Not to trust Venmo.
oh wow.
No, that's not true. Venmo's great, I'm sure. Jesus teaches me about myself and how little I matter in this life. Like I think the older I'm getting, I'm starting to realize that everyone else around me matters more than me. And I know that sounds really self-congratulatory to say, like, oh, you're so selfless. No, that's a journey to get here.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm kind of a recovering self-worshiper in my life. And so that's the journey that the Lord has been on.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think that this is such an open-ended question that I think it could be a podcast in and of itself. I feel like I've learned so many things and I still have so much more to learn. I think one thing though that I feel like Jesus had taught me is that it's really just about your heart, like the posture of where your heart is at, as far as it does matter to an extent what you're doing because people are going to watch your actions. They can't see your heart, obviously, but you know, as part of the worship team, like I could go up there and I could really look like I'm worshiping and I could be totally zoned out or thinking about my outfit or thinking about what other people think, which has happened to me. I've done that, you know, but I think it's very important to just make sure like your heart is in the right place, that you're being humble, that you have a heart of worship, that you have a heart to serve people. So yeah, I think that's one thing.
I love that you gave different answers, but both of your answers are tied to other people. So that's really an interesting similarity.
Mm-hmm.
What have you enjoyed about the church?
I am thankful that the church that I go to now versus when I was growing up, my perception of the church, back then it was a museum. You couldn't touch anything. And it was a place where people dressed up and went and hung out in some kind of social club. Now, the church is more and more than ever in my life, kind of a hospital for broken people. Mm. And so I'm just thankful that we're in a place where we don't act so religiously that we forget the fact that the whole point of the church is to be a place to encounter people, where the Lord can encounter people, that we can gather and worship. And it's all about, it's the Great Commission, right? It's to go out and to be baptizing in the name. And I'm just so glad that that's where the church is today. And churches were like that back then. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the one that I went to at the time. But I'm thankful to be in that kind of place now.
Yeah. That's really good.
We still have elements of the holy huddle, right? As a church, like we still love to do that a little bit, but I just think generally we're headed the right way.
Yeah, for sure. My favorite part about the church, which actually ties in so well to this podcast theme, is that it's a multi-generational family. Mm-hmm. I've had the opportunity to babysit for a lot of families in my church, including I've watched Andy's Girls a few times. And so I think it's so fun that I get to have kids that'll run up to me on a Sunday and they're excited to give me a hug or tell me something that happened in their week. And then I get to interact with people who are my age, who I've become really good friends with. And then, I get to look at my parents and my parents' friends and their generation and get to have conversations with them throughout the week. And then on top of that, like being a part of the worship team has opened such a great experience for that too, because I'm the youngest one there. So that's a really cool space for me to be like, these people are my friends, even though they're in their 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s. Yeah. And so I think that, in some workplaces you have that, but I think that the church is just a really unique space where all of my extended family lives very far away. So I have like my home, like my parents and my siblings, but my grandparents live far, cousins, aunts, uncles. And so I think it's just been such a blessing to have a church where there are so many different people to spend time with and learn from and talk to. And it's so fun.
I love
You
that.
consider old people your friend?
Yeah.
When you come to church?
Andy, I think we're friends.
Andy,
I think
you're
we
not
are.
old.
Good.
Well, because so Callie's dad and I are friends,
Yeah.
and we go on fishing trips and hang out together. So it's just funny. It's good. I'm glad.
You're just older.
That's
Glad
been an
we're all-
interesting transition.
older.
Yes.
Because Caitlin and I are friends. Caitlin's the worship leader at
Oh, yeah.
Highland. And so the two of us have gotten very close. And she has an older sister that's 13 years older than her or something. Wow. So the transition for her when she came to work at Highland to be friends with the millennials and the people on our team, because that's the majority, I would say. It's like 30s and 40s kind of. And so she was like, yeah, like I feel like that's just me hanging out with people that are my sister's age. Like that feels very natural. And I was like, yeah, maybe that feels natural to you, but like this has been my home church for 10 years. And all of these people are friends with my mom and dad.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
So that's been like a blessing too, to go from like, those are my parents' friends who I respect and can talk to and whatever, to like being able to be more friends with them myself and have our own relationships is really fun.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right, we're about to move into category 2. Y'all feeling good?
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
All right, we're going to get vulnerable.
Wait a minute. That was all the surfacey stuff?
Yeah, that was kind of surface
Oh,
level.
man. All right.
Let's get deep now.
Let's get deeper.
All right, what is your biggest struggle that you face daily?
Wow.
Came out the gate
That's
with
it.
that
We're
one.
going.
I
We're
gave
going
you
big.
a warning.
Ready to go.
Yeah,
I did.
It's like, I'm just saying. It's okay that I said this.
I did.
I would say, kind of like I talked about what Jesus is teaching me, it's my biggest struggle is not caring as much every day about me. And I've learned that because I'm a parent now. I'm a husband. I have coworkers. I'm a part of this church. I have people to take care of before I take care of me. And if a day goes by and I don't do something that directly takes care of me or something I want to do, that's okay. And I think that's the thing I've had to learn over the years, and I think is the biggest struggle, is I go, well, I want this me time, But then if I take the time to do things I want to do, then I stay up way too late at night at the end of the day, and then I'm tired the next day, and I can't be the best me then the next day. So it's like, it's okay. I didn't get to watch the show I wanted to watch or do the thing I wanted to do, but at least I was there for those that I was supposed to be there for that day. And so that's good. That's better than taking care of me.
Yeah. I think that's a very
It's a
real
struggle though. It's not
Yeah.
easy.
I think a lot of people face that.
Yeah.
It can get so easy to be like, well, this is what I want to do.
Yes.
And you kind of dress it up in this fake, like, well, if I don't serve myself first, then how can I serve anyone else?
Right.
It's totally backwards from what we read in the gospel. So.
Yeah. Well, I have I have a shelf of books that's my cue. When I cannot wait to find the time in my life to read those books. Those books have been sitting there for weeks and months and going on almost a year. And it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm still living my life the way that I'm supposed to be living it. Even if I don't get to read the books I wanted to read.
Yeah. I love that. Calie, what about you? What's your biggest struggle that you face daily?
Such a good question. I think that my biggest struggle is learning to release my plans. I think that at the age that our generation is in, whether it's, early adulthood, early 20s, all the way to, I think it spans like high schoolers pretty close. And that's a lot of decisions. You're deciding where to go to college. You're deciding what you want to major in. There's a lot of decisions about who will my friends be? Who will my spouse be? So many things. And I went to college for like 3.5 years, but didn't graduate with the degree and came home and didn't know what I was going to do. And I think people, because they care, ask questions. But sometimes those questions, when you don't have an answer, can cause a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the phase of life that we're kind of in, where it's like, my sister hasn't gone to college yet. And so a lot of times people are like, oh, what's your plan? Are you going to go to school? Are you just going to work? And, maybe she knows, maybe she doesn't.
Yeah.
And so I have fought that for a long time, where like, I thought this was the plan and I wanted this to be the plan, and then it wasn't the plan. And so it's something that I'm getting better at and something that I've learned a little bit more, but it's a daily, like, lay down my plans, let go of what I imagined, and let the Lord lead, even if I don't know all the answers, which is hard because I'm a perfectionist and an oldest child, and I like to know the answers and I like to know the plan.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a daily thing to let go of.
So when people ask you those basic questions, like, because I would think about that. If I see someone who's 19 years old, my first question is be like, oh, what are you doing? Do you go to school?
But it's because you care.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, you want to
But
know
it's
the
like
context
default
of their
question
life.
all the time.
Yeah.
And if you're struggling with that, that could be really
Yeah.
point of
Hurtful,
tension. Yeah, it can be
almost.
hurtful. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's even just thinking about like, hey, what was the highlight of your week? Like, it's great to ask, people what they're up to and to really get to know them. But there's only a handful of people in my life who I appreciate those questions from, because I know that they know me.
Yeah.
And they are looking out for my best interest. And they want to know if they can help in any way. But, maybe shifting those questions from, hey, are you planning on going to school, or what are you doing for work, or do you have a plan? Like, if people have a plan, like, there's probably going to be a good segue in the conversation where they can share that with you.
Yeah.
But just switching to, how is your week, or what have you been up to lately?
What excites you right now?
Yeah, what are you excited about? What, just getting to know people in a little bit of a different way that's not completely reliant on their education or their relational status or anything like that.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Don't get offended, Andy.
I'm not going to be offended.
What is the worst thing about being older?
This is my favorite. No, you can say
Older.
old. No, you can say old. I know that's what you wanted to say.
No.
It's finding the limitations of my body now that are hard. I can't run as fast. I can't run as far. I don't get to the gym enough, so I don't feel like I'm strong. Like, I'm tired more easily.
Okay.
And I hate that, because I know that the days when I can do, my brain is still sharp. My body is dulling essentially,
Slowing
right? In a
down,
way.
yeah.
And so it's like, I hate that, because I want to do more, but I feel limited. And I'm not that old. I mean, 40 is not that old. Because if I said that to a room full of 60-year-olds, they'd say,
Yeah.
just wait.
Right.
Yeah.
But to us, I'm thinking, what can I do right now to
Yes.
protect myself from that
Yes.
feeling?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't experience.
Stay active. No, it's just experiencing the limitation and knowing that those days are gone and that I have to rely on other things to like find confidence.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Not that I was athletically that confident, but just knowing that I can't just run myself out of every situation. I
Yeah.
have to like be more thoughtful about it. So
Yeah. That's interesting.
or my knees
too,
hurt. When I
that-
get up off the
Yeah.
floor with my kids, I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, oh. I might need knee surgery in my life.
Yeah.
You know,
At
I'm like,
some
if I'm
point.
40, I'm doing the math going, this gets worse and worse and worse. Oh, geez, I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Like
need
you're thinking about
yes, yes. And so
Interesting.
it's all these big things. And
Yeah. I think it's mourning the past is a lot of
Yeah,
it.
that's
Like
it.
the other day I was sitting in a room full of people and I don't remember really who I was sitting with, but I looked at my calendar and the past couple weeks have been really busy. We had Praise Fest and just like a lot of busy projects.
Yep.
And I looked at my calendar for this week and I was like, oh my gosh, this week's going to be so busy too. And I looked up from my phone and I went, wait a minute, is this being an adult? Like, is it just busy all the time and now it never stops because
Yes.
there's always something? And yeah, somebody in the room was like, yeah, that's it. And I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah, like this is
Like there's
way
never
different.
like when is there going to be just like, oh, it's just a chill week. Like no, there's always something. And when I have a lot of different part-time jobs instead of a full-time job. So it's like trying to figure out where they all fit during the week. And then can I still see my family and can I still spend time with my friends?
Right. And when you were like 8, you were like, it's
Man,
Wednesday.
go to school,
That's all I
come
know.
home,
Yes,
It's
yeah.
Wednesday.
have a meal prepared for you and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So
Definitely
I
more
think,
responsibility.
yeah, for sure.
it only gets worse.
No, I'm scared.
Busy yet. Just wait. No.
All right. Thank you guys for being vulnerable. Let's
Yeah.
keep going. How have your life experiences shaped who you are?
I was probably, I'm not a tall adult at all. I'm 5'6", so I was always short, like comparative to other kids. And so I think being small and kind of unathletic as a kid, and then really being a little bookwormy and a kind of a know-it-all as a kid, shaped me to now as an adult appreciate that I want to help people feel included, because I didn't feel included because of things that I couldn't control.
Yeah.
Again, or didn't, wasn't as wealthy or whatever, so I couldn't have the cool clothes. So therefore, because I've always felt less than growing up, when I finally feel like I'm confident doing something and people tell me, wow, this was really great that you did that, you're very good at that, or whatever, then that makes me go, well, thanks, but you're special too. Like you matter as well, just because
so you
I have a
know.
skill or a talent or something that you think is great. Also, don't think that I'm greater than you, because I felt insignificant because of other people around me when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of shaped me to be more sensitive to other people. I don't do it perfectly all the time, but I feel like that's how my upbringing kind of has shaped me.
Yeah. I'm so glad that it shaped you in that way, because
Yeah.
I feel like it could easily be like, all right, I'm the outcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go this opposite rebellious
Right.
way.
But I think, I will say though, being an outcast, I think there are times I still don't feel like I belong, even when I'm in a room. If I'm in a meeting and I'm running a meeting, or I'm participating in something, I even go like, I don't belong here. Like I'm a fraud.
That imposter
I,
syndrome.
yes, I don't. This isn't the
Yeah.
right place for me, because this is where the good people or the cool people hang out.
Been there.
Right.
That's so
Been there.
common. I think that's throughout all generations.
Yeah.
Maybe we think it and feel it in different ways in different scenarios, but I think that feeling of I don't belong here is common across.
I've had that a few
everyone.
times recently where I'm like, who am I what do I know to be able to share any sort of wisdom with you, or what experience do I have that's going to impact your life? If you're older than me or have been doing a certain thing longer than I have.
Yeah. So
I've had
Andy,
that a couple times.
what would you say if you're sitting in a room and someone is thinking that? Someone is, or maybe someone's going through that right now. Like, I don't belong in this company. I'm not pulling my weight. What do I do? Like, what would you tell them?
Yeah, there's no accidents. I mean, the Lord has you in that place for a reason.
Yeah.
As He shifts the world, you're a part of it. Like you even if you're in a job for a week and realize it's not for you and you leave, there was purpose in that.
Yeah.
That God's purpose is bigger than my purposes or my goals. You talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
That He's doing something that's shaping me and ultimately building His church or whatever. God's goals are different than ours. And so I would just say, if you don't feel like you don't belong, none of us belong.
Yeah.
Like none of us really belong. The only reason we stand here is because God the
Yep.
Father has given us life and breath
Yep.
today.
Yeah.
In His infinite mercy, He's allowed that. And so I think just having that perspective is, it's okay. We're all equally broken and sinful people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no status. Status is an illusion that we have created.
It's good.
Man.
It's good.
Well, and that's what going off of, if I can, like, what I was thinking too is like, whatever you do it unto the Lord. Like, that's like, man, I might be in a room and be like, I feel like I am super underqualified for what I'm about to do. But man, if you've put me in this space, like, I trust that you'll equip me, and whatever I'm about to do, I'm going to do it all to honor and glorify your name, whether anybody in this room thinks I'm worthy, whether I think I should be doing this or not.
Yeah.
Like, Lord, I pray that I would take this opportunity and I would do it to your honor and your glory.
Yeah. That's good.
A shift in perspective helps a little bit too, when it's not about you.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Calie, how have your life experiences shaped who you are?
Such an aggressive he said.
Yeah. Tell us, Calie.
I didn't have a ton of friends growing up, and so I feel like in the same way as Andy, wanting to like make sure people are heard and included. I don't know, I just didn't have like super tight friendships until really I got to college. And so one, it's made me appreciate friendship 10 times more.
Yeah.
Which I think is a blessing. I don't have like childhood friends where I'm like, we've known each other since we were 2 and we're still best friends now. And like, that really wasn't my situation, which a lot of people have. And so I think it's made me appreciate friendships more. Every time I sit down with a close friend or I'm with a close group of friends, I sit there just in awe almost. I'm like, wow, like, look at this whole group of people that I get to be friends with. What a blessing. That's awesome. And so I think that helps me appreciate friendships more. And it also makes me, even as a little bit of an introvert, it makes me want to reach out to other people and bring them in and see, like, you also look like you're a little bit lonely, or like you don't really have a ton of people here to support you. Like,
So
I'd like to be there for you. I'd like to bring you into that and help. I want you to experience this same joy of like being together and having solid friendships. I like to introduce my friends to each other. I'm like, you're so cool and you're so cool, and I want you to be able to have fun. Like, just so like trying to bring people together. I think
I love that.
when you felt excluded or like an outsider. Yeah.
What do you value?
I think I value more than ever before just effort and care that people put toward other people. Just generally serving, and I don't value things that I once valued, right? Possessions. And look, we all want things that are cool. To sit here and say that we didn't is a lie, you know?
Totally.
I'm preparing a sermon on coveting right now, which is great. That's fresh in my head.
Right.
But I think I just really value when someone goes out of their way to serve me. That I value more than anything else, and it makes me want to do the same. And that's the currency that really matters more than anything right now.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. What do you value?
I mean, same as the last question. I really value friendship. I value sitting down with people. I value community. That's a lot. It's just a big theme in my life right now is community. So in church, I was talking about multi-generational community or having a group of friends, just really valuing friendships and relationships and people as they are, and wisdom. I think the older I get, the more I appreciate just like sitting and just listening to people who know more than me and who are wise and have advice and have stories. And Andy and I give each other a hard time often, but
You bully me is really what it is.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's not two ways at all.
Should we
I've
unpack
never
that was
There's no bullying. I'm
Okay.
just kidding.
No, we definitely like joke back and forth a lot, but I really enjoy hearing the wisdom that Andy has gathered, and sitting down for conversations like this is really cool. So the older I get, the more I could just like sit and listen to people who know more than me or have had experiences that are different than mine. Just like really like understanding what they've learned and what they've experienced.
I'm just very comfortable, like as you're saying, like I'm very comfortable just listening and being with people more than ever before, and not needing to do anything. There doesn't have to be an activity
Yep.
being done. Like, sometimes it's a fishing or hunting trip, or it's just hanging out at a restaurant or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Just doing life.
It's just hanging out with people with no drama, no pressure, it's just sharing. And I like that.
Yeah.
All right, category 3. Now these are going to
So we're not
get
even there
even
yet.
deeper.
This is like
the last 3 questions.
So this is the deepest
Well,
level.
here we go.
We're really
All right.
digging
Are y'all
in
ready?
here.
I'm feeling
guess.
good.
And take like a deep breath.
Yeah.
Yep. 3 more questions. You can do it. Here we go. What is something that the people in the church can do better? We're talking the body of Christ, the people who make up the church.
I think we lose sight of what the whole point is that we worship Jesus. We don't worship power. We don't worship influence. We don't worship ourselves. We certainly don't worship experiences. I think that musical worship experiences that we see on YouTube, etc., make us want that our church to be like what we see from other churches. And I think that becomes the thing. You know, we need better this so that people will blank. Like it's not any of that. I think the thing I really want to see from the church is that we become like Jesus, right? That is it. That's fundamentally what being a disciple of Jesus is becoming more and more like him each and every day. That, you know, that as John the Baptist said, you know, that he would increase, that we would decrease.
Yeah.
And when that happens and it doesn't become about any of this peripheral stuff, then I think the church is set up better for the future.
I agree. Wow.
Well, we have a lot of things that we've made church about.
Yeah.
Did they do the songs I like? Did we do it well enough? Did the right singer sing it?
Were our lighting cues good?
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, that's all fine. But Jesus,
Yeah.
you know, and that's all nice and fluffy, like, but no, really, like, is your life being transformed?
Yeah.
Because you're studying the Word and because you're in prayer without ceasing, and others are sharpening you around you in those conversations, right? I appreciate that when people are pouring into me and wanting to see me be more of a disciple and helping correct me. Like, that's okay that we correct. At the very beginning of this, we talked about not wanting to say awkward things to people.
Yeah.
But being in true discipleship means saying hard things to people.
Yeah.
That's the church. And so I hope that we can do that in all that we do. And that happens in pockets, right? It happens generally here, just as long as we don't make other things the thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
When you talk about saying hard things to people, I feel like in our culture, which is a combination of both of our generations, is that we've decided that if you disagree with somebody or you don't like one thing that they say, it has to end your entire relationship.
Yeah.
And so I think that we've lost a lot of the opportunities or the abilities to have real honest conversations and either say, hey, you hurt me when you did this, or, you know, hey, like, I'm seeing the way that you're living your life and I'm sensing some heart problems here. And I think that there's some things that have to get worked through. And I
can
think
still be friends through it.
right. Or like, hey, I really disagree with how you did this, but like, there can still be love. Like we can still have relationship. And I really would love if we learned those habits again.
Yeah.
It's because it's really more about relationship that all that stuff you said. And I think another sort of church issue is that we want to engage the world by throwing bombs instead of engaging in relationship and asking the origin of where people came from. You know, if you understand like the philosophy of our culture, it's all about becoming the best version of me possible, right? That there's a source inside of me that is the best version. And the more I can explore the inside, then that comes out, then that's me being the best me possible. But discipleship in Christ confesses that I'm actually broken in here. This is not a good place to source from, but rather I need Jesus from the outside to come in and transform these inside pieces. Well, the world doesn't think that way apart from Jesus. And so to expect the world to have the same values that we do when it comes to, for example, gender and sexuality or whatever it happens to be, without any framework of the gospel and Jesus in their lives, we're just going to waste our time. We need to build relationships to make any of that possible.
True.
So sometimes I just lament that the church is so interested in correcting instead of in getting to know and helping people understand why they think the way that they do to get them to where we hope that they can be.
That's so great. I can't believe that you said that, because that was literally my point when I was thinking about this question of what's my biggest frustration with how the body operates is I don't think that we love people like Jesus loved people. I think we see people by their sins and by their mistakes. And I think that sometimes outside of the church, people identify themselves by their struggles. And so I think that that's a hard thing that we need to look past. But like, again, you don't know where anybody's heart is at. I've been a really big fan of listening to With the Perrys. I don't know if you know who Jackie Hill Perry is, but her and her husband, Preston, have a podcast. And there's just so much wisdom there. And I listened to her book a while back, and it's called Gay Girl, Good God. And just her story of how she was like in a homosexual relationship, and the Lord called her heart first. Like, he didn't call her out of her lifestyle and then call her heart and call her into the church. But he like sought out her heart and like drew her to himself. And for her, it was a very quick process. The next day she broke up with her girlfriend and she started to talk to people and she was like, I think I got to make some changes.
Yeah.
But I don't know that she like gave her life to Christ until months later. And so I think that, I mean, it's literally just what you were saying, but I think that we really need to have relationships with people. And we have to be wise about that and being like, if you're here, then something the Holy Spirit is doing in your life is drawing you here.
Yeah.
And I want to get to know you in order, because if I don't like have a relationship with somebody, like, why would you want to listen to the words I have to say if we have no context for each other? So, I mean, we can't let our love of people get in the way of our love of Christ and his word,
Right.
which is a very fine line to walk and something that I've struggled through. But I think it's so important to build relationships with people and to show them that they're loved and to really get to know them, because you don't know what the Lord is doing in their life, you know? Like, they're struggling with sin, but I mean, we all are. And the Lord called them here for a reason. So let me get to know you. And as we build relationship, then, you know, I can maybe share truth with you in a way that's going to be productive and not harmful in the relationship.
Yeah. It's a big change that the body of Christ can totally make. But only through the help of the Holy Spirit.
The power of the Holy
Like
Spirit.
the way, when you're speaking,
Yeah.
it's
It's
like,
not
wow,
easy.
that's a dream. But
It's not easy, and it's
hard.
it's a big step to take, and it takes all of us, you know, like it collectively, like the church, worldwide, Christians, believers.
Well, let me go full circle now.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable with this stance where the church is not powerful in a political sense. I'm comfortable that we live in a posture of kind of feeling like we're a little less than, like it's okay that we feel a little insignificant in culture. I think that that's what people are feeling right now. There's this feel like, oh no, the church is being diminished and it's being reduced, and we're not, society doesn't respect God. I'm like, yeah, that maybe those things are happening, and yet in that instant, I talked about growing up and feeling insignificant, and I think in that posture, I'm comfortable with that because I know that out of that insignificance can come something greater. That we can, because Jesus, incredibly humble, by the way, right? And spoke to and ministered to the most marginalized people in the culture, in Capernaum and all the towns, and did so knowing that the end result was going to go very poorly for him personally, and it was going to sit very poorly with the religious leaders, and yet was very comfortable and still stood on the mount and said, "Blessed are the meek, the humble, the mild," like those that are going to position themselves lower than others and never ever try to attain anything higher. And from that position, we're going to be able to do a lot more.
The impact in that position is so much greater.
Yes.
If we're going to sit down and have a conversation, I'm going to listen to you. But if you're screaming at me, I'm going to be like, I didn't hear a word that you said because you're just screaming at me. You're trying to be louder than the world. And that's normal to me, and I'm just going to turn that off. But if you come and you're like, I want to talk to you about something, that catches me off guard. I'm like, whoa, you want to talk to me? Like, you want to have a conversation, a relationship? You want to know about me? You want to share life with me? That's completely different. So the impact is so much greater when you're in that posture of being
which is why the Lord wants to reduce me in my life. And that's why it's a struggle. Because the world says, you be bigger, you be more important, you make a name for yourself, you be an influencer, you be, that's a generational thing, by the way. I would just say.
An influencer.
Influencer.
And to me, an online influencer isn't anything. Like, it's just someone who has pursued fame and found it because a couple of people like their stuff. No.
Yeah.
I know that makes some people uncomfortable, but that's a generational thing. But I'm just saying, like, that's why the Lord is constantly reminding me, you're not as important as you think you are.
Yeah.
And it's because he wants me to be low, to minister low, to have that great impact.
Yeah.
It requires vulnerability on our part too, to be like, I struggle too. Yeah. I have sin in my life too. That,
What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned from friendships?
That in my serving of others, that I'm going to have more impact than, that friendships aren't transactional. that I don't want to just find people that make me feel good and call them friends, but rather it's people that are going to serve me when I'm in need, and I'm going to serve them when they're in need. And I think that, again, the more Jesus I can be to others, that's a real lasting friendship versus, I like being friends with this person because, he owns this business and I get cool stuff from him.
Yeah.
Right. Or some sort of that's a very direct transactional thing. But I don't want a relationship that's transactional any longer. I want one that has real depth to it.
Yeah. I think I've learned some hard lessons from friendship. I wish I was like all positive things, but not having really close friendships until college or post-college. I learned that a lot of friendships are for a season, and I'm learning that that's okay, which is hard because when you get really close to somebody and you've experienced life with them and that friendship only lasts a couple years and then you never talk again, like that's a hard transition. Yeah. And I've had that a few different times where you're like, man, we've had so much fun together and this has been like a great time, and all of a sudden you move away or something happens and the dynamic is just different, and then next thing you know, we're not talking anymore, or things like that. And so I've learned that sometimes friendships are just for a very specific season in your life, whether that's for that person to speak into you or you to speak into their life, or, both of those things.
Yeah.
Which also teaches me that Jesus is eternal, and that's a friendship that is not seasonal.
Yeah.
And
or transactional.
Or transactional.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit of a harder one, but I feel like that's one of the biggest things I've been
But still purpose.
that I've learned through that there's purpose in it, but it's not always going to be long lasting or permanent. But that's okay, and there's still good things to take from that.
Good.
Thanks.
All right, here we go.
So wise.
Final question. Aw, a millennial telling Gen Z that she's wise?
Wow.
I mean,
that's sweet.
We didn't corner the market on wisdom. It's been,
I've learned from a lot of
especially
people.
if you ask people older than us, they think that we're all dumb, so we don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
We're all crazy.
What's the hardest part of your life?
I've kind of said it in other ways, but it's just trying to be selfless
Yeah.
in a selfish world. And it's hard. It is so hard because I struggle with this all the time. I just desire to do things for me. And that's it. That's what it is. It's just the hardest thing to do, to reject, to have self, discipline, or to deny the flesh. That's sort of like, right, the fancy church scriptural version of that. Just basically saying the things that I instinctively want in life, I will not get.
Yeah.
Because there is a higher calling, and getting to that higher calling is hard, but there are times that it shows up and you're like, okay, there is value in that, and it's good.
I think one of the hardest things right now is just finding balance with spending time with friends, with family, with work, making sure that none of those, that I'm giving them as much energy and effort as they're due, I guess. But that I don't really let one take over. Like, finding a balance in life is difficult, and I think it's a never-ending kind of struggle to find, but also that I cut out time to spend with the Lord. And I think that that's something that very quickly to me falls to the wayside of like, okay, I had to get up early to work. I'm going to come home from work. One of my siblings has a game that I want to go see, and then, there's a couple chores, and then I got to go to bed, and and it just very quickly just is a repetitive, like, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. And so I think that it's hard to cut out time to sit still, and to spend time in the Word and spend time in prayer. And it's something that I struggle with, like, daily of like, no, like, I have to make time for this, and it's a very good thing, and it teaches me a lot. And, it starts your day off right, or closes your day right, where you just get to spend time with the Holy Spirit. But that's a struggle to like take time out of the busyness. We're so prone to just like stay busy all the time, to fill it up and to say yes to everything. Right. And so I struggle to balance every area of like, you don't have to say yes to everything. You need to spend time with Jesus and friends and family. And so,
there's a great lie, I feel like, in culture. Like we believe that busyness equals fullness. That if I'm just busy, then my life will feel full.
Or importance. That if you're busy, you're important.
Exactly right. Yep. And I think at the end of the day, there's just, that always crashes out. There's nothing fulfilling in there, because all of that busyness, it's just covering a hole that, like, it's never going to be filled by any of that. There's
Yeah.
just a hole in our hearts that we can't. And so I think that's the one thing we just have to continue to teach our church is like, yeah, you're busy, I'm busy, we're all busy, but like we have to slow down
Yeah.
and listen. And because what is the real measure of success in this life? It's obedience. I feel like it's, did we do enough? Did we do the, no, did we listen
Yeah.
to what the Lord is having us do? And that sounds all good and wise for me to say. In practice, that's hard.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
We definitely uncovered some similarities, but
Yeah,
also
for
differences
Yeah.
in generations. And I love that we're all made in the image of God. It doesn't matter what generation we belong to. It's the same Jesus. We're
Yeah.
different, but we're all humans. We
Amen.
can all relate to each other
Yes.
in multiple ways. So I love that. I want to do a quick little challenge for you as we sign off here.
Yep.
I'm going to ask a question. Viewers, I want you to answer this question in the comment section of this video. Be part of our conversation. Please, we would love to hear from you. I'm going to ask you this question, and then you're going to answer in one sentence. Okay? That's
Oh,
the
wow.
challenge.
Okay.
One
We're
sentence.
both very wordy.
Concise.
I don't know if this will be
Ready? One sentence, and then we'll sign off. What is one way we can be more like Christ when interacting with different generations?
I can see the good in what you do first.
I'm gonna take one that my dad uses a lot, and he'll say, "You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen more than you speak."
I love that.
I think that's important to really understand each other and empathize with each other.
Wow.
Your dad's a smart guy.
He's a smart guy.
Sometimes. he
I've
is.
I'm learned from a good one.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being part of the Numbers season of More Than a Sunday, episode number 1. Y'all were the first. Thanks for being
Allie.
part of it.
Thank
It's
you.
been so fun.
This
I'm
has been
super excited to
fun,
be here.
yes.
This was a great conversation.
Been awesome.
And thank you so much for watching and listening. We would love for you to join us for episode 2 of Numbers. We'll see you next time.